So it's interesting, like there's no set mechanism for XRP to be issued. Like you're not like using it to periodically reward like users or devs or nothing like that. It's like more kind of ad hoc sales.
Kind of has to be because we're a company and like you can't just sort of give money without like knowing who you're giving money to. You know, there's certain we are a U.S. corporation.
Tell that to the airdrop people.
Yeah, no, I know. It's funny too. We're fairly conservative from a regulatory standpoint. You know, we stayed out of like the exchange business because like if you go to your account on an exchange and you go to withdraw Bitcoin, you just enter in an address that you want the Bitcoin sent to, and they don't know who you're sending that money to. Like we don't sort of have we're surprisingly conservative. You know, we have regulated services for banks. We have, you know, any number of licenses as a payments company. We have a bit license. Like we airdrop. I know lots of companies like, you can just give airdrops. Yeah, we can't. So we do have an enormous number of programs to incentivize, to incentivize developers. We do events. We build technology. We have like an XRPL grants program that we started in 2021. We committed $1 billion XRP to accelerate development. We hold events for developers like Apex coming up in Amsterdam. We hold hackathons. We built a learning portal. We have an accelerator program to help startups and young projects learn to develop. But giving it away kind of becomes very difficult. You know, if I offer you $10 to do something, you'll do it even if it's not something that you want to do. But we want to find the people who want to do things. You know what I mean? Like paying people to do things they don't want to do. As soon as those incentives go away, they'll suffer something that isn't a good fit if you pay them to do it. So you have to be very careful. It's actually been surprisingly challenging. It turns out to be a much harder problem. You know, here I am 10 years later when I thought we would probably give away most, if not all of our XRP in like 3 to 4 years. But it turns out it's actually hard.
That's so funny to hear you say this because, you know, it sounds pretty reasonable and obvious that you just, you know, you don't want to just give your crypto away to people who, because it like messes with the incentives, right? But I mean, it's effectively how much of crypto, or at least DeFi, is operating right now. Like most projects are using their tokens specifically to incentivize use, and they're hoping that, okay, once these people who are farming the token use their product, some of them will stick around. Kind of, it's a bit of like a marketing tactic to use the token. But it's interesting how you've basically, you know, like have ignored this game, I guess, or chosen a different path.
We have directly. First of all, we don't have retail customers. We don't have retail products really. So, you know, we're not an exchange. We're not a wallet operator. We're not a developer of retail products so much. So it really wouldn't make sense for us to do that directly. We don't have, we have customers, but that's on the payments institutional side. Now, we do have partnerships with companies that do use that as a customer acquisition mechanism. And that's perfectly fine as long as you're paying people and you have a reasonable expectation that they'll like what you pay them to get them in the door, right? But if they don't like what they see and they're only there because you pay them, then obviously the business is going to collapse as soon as the incentives up. You have to be careful to make sure that you actually have something, and you don't always know for sure. You know, NFTs were really big for a while, and there were many use cases that during the hype cycle looked really, really exciting. And now some assets like, you know, carbon markets and certain collectibles, assets that are connected to games that allow you to do things, assets connected to real world, you know, events. Those kinds of things look like, you know, sometimes you don't know in the short term what's going to work and what's not. We do definitely, we do grants. And some of those companies use those grants for customer acquisition, and that's perfectly legitimate. But again, you just have to be careful to make sure that you aren't just getting people in, you aren't just paying people to come in the door, and then as soon as the incentives stop, you know, they'll go away. You just have to vet them carefully. We as a company, Ripple, don't like just try to spread, you know, a token everywhere in the hopes that like some of it will land with people who will do something constructive with it.